Good evening, everyone. It is 5:35, and I would like to call this meeting to order. Miss Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call to ascertain a quorum
Yes, sir. Chair Patrick Molina,
here?
Vice Chair Heather Anderson, Bill Brown,
Here.
Jan Schubert, and Dottie McKinney here.
We have a quorum. Very good. And Miss Karen, if you could put up the red, white, and blue, we will recite the Pledge of Allegiance. You're saying all sorts of wonderful things, Karen, that we can't hear.
Well, that little microphone button. I didn't have the agenda open yet to pull up the
Oh,
flag for
that's okay.
a second, or if somebody else
I have
wants
this
to
little
share
guy.
screen.
We'll go with
Okay,
this.
that'll work. Thank you so much. So
All
sorry.
right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Very good. I would like to invite anyone in the attendees gallery to open public comment, open up the public comment section. If you would like to participate in that, please raise your virtual hand and we will bring you into the panel.
And I've also opened the chat. If you'd prefer to put your name in the chat, that's another option. But raise your digital hand, or if you can't find that, type your name in the chat if you'd like to make a public comment.
I am not seeing any in either of the participants or webinar chats, so we will close public comment and go on to approve the current agenda. I move to approve this evening's current agenda as posted. A second, please.
All second.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Any further discussion? Very good. Ms. Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote to approve the current agenda for this evening's meeting?
Yes, sir. Chair Patrick Molina,
Aye.
Bill Brown,
Aye.
and Dottie McKinney, aye.
And we have a Heather Anderson in the attendees. We'll get her promoted here. Wonderful. And we'll just pause for a moment to let Heather jump in before we move on to item number 4 on this evening's agenda. And the time is 5:38 for Heather's entry. Wonderful. Good evening, Miss Heather. So glad you're here.
Guys, my apologies for being late.
Not at all. Not at all. All right. I move to approve this evening's, our meeting minutes from January 29th, which was a special meeting. A second, please.
All second.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Any discussion with regards to the minutes for those of you who've had an opportunity to read them over? I did, and they looked pretty tight to me. Very well, Miss Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote to approve the meeting minutes from our special meeting on January 29th, 2026?
Yes, sir. Chair Patrick Molina,
Aye.
Vice Chair Heather Anderson,
Aye.
Bill Brown,
Aye.
and Dottie McKinney, aye.
Very good. Thank you all. So we have a little bit of school finance to talk about tonight. So I believe we hand this over to Mr. Colander to bring us up to speed. And Bill, obviously, as our finance chair, could pepper in comments and thoughts as well. So I hand it over to Jake and Bill.
Well, thank you. Go ahead, Karen.
I'm sorry, Mr. Colander. I just wasn't sure who on this list I should promote. Is it at this point or no?
You're welcome to. Sammy and Whitney can both.
Sammy and Whitney.
So the good news is that the mixed bag news is that we are working on getting the contract completed with Vertex Education. There were some minor changes going back and forth over the last couple of days, but ultimately all things that we feel are resolutions that we can agree to, and we will get this resolved. We did have the opportunity. I had the opportunity today to meet with Ms. Marquez and Ms. Sanchez, who will be representing Vertex Education with our school. I'm very excited to get started. They have no idea how interested we are in making sure they can take off and flying. So I was able to get them both in AptiFund and requests to have them attached to our Wells Fargo account so they can begin the work that is ahead of them. But it was a lovely hour-long conversation with the two of them, and I will do no further talking until they both have an opportunity to introduce themselves and get to know our board.
I can go first. My name is Whitney Sanchez. I will be your business manager. I joined Vertex in September, but prior to that, I was a business manager for 8 years at a few charter schools in Albuquerque and one in Jemez. Um, Left briefly. I'm glad to be back in the charter school world and working with all of you.
Welcome.
Hello, I'm Sammy Marquez, and I'm one of the team leads at K-12, and so I will be here supporting Whitney and supporting the school as needed, kind of in the background, but I'm available to you guys if you guys need anything. I've been with Vertex for 5 years, been a team lead for about three now, and so just whatever we can do to help you guys and help support you guys, that's what we're here to do.
Well, fantastic. I think I'll have each board member introduce themselves. We'll start with Miss Heather.
Takes me a minute to unmute. I'm Heather Anderson. I've been on the board for almost 2 years now. I have two kids at Explore, a junior and an eighth grader.
Mr. Brown.
So I'm Bill Brown. I work here locally at a bank, but I also have a son in Explorer. He's a sixth grader, joined this year, so this is his first year. And I've been on the board for maybe 6 months, I think, something like that.
Excellent. Our secretary, Dottie McKinney.
Hi, Ms. Sanchez and Ms. Marcus. Welcome aboard. I'm Dottie McKinney. I've retired with 35 years of procurement experience in government in New Mexico, specializing in construction contracting. And I've been on the board for 3.5 years, and I have not enjoyed anything as much as this in a long time. It's interesting to see what happens on the other side after working for school districts and working for the state. And I'm very thankful that I knew Karen Warner, who invited me to my hope was to be elected to the board that year, and I was. And I've remained a steadfast member all this time. So.
Thank you very much. We are missing one board member, Jan Schubert, and she might show up here in a bit. I'm Patrick Molina. I'm currently the board chair for this fantastic little board. I've been on the board, I want to say this is the beginning of my 5th year or 4th year. I lose count because I'm old. But it has been an honor and a privilege to serve. And Ms. Marquez and Ms. Sanchez, we're very excited to have you both on board. This is a very approachable board. The finance committee, the sub-finance committee on this board consists of Mr. Bill Brown and me. So you might be coming to some of those meetings. And Bill is very, very sharp in that world. I have a little bit of a business background, so I know a thing or two, but I'm always learning as well. So welcome aboard. We're very happy to have you.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Colander.
Thank you. And I did let both Ms. Marquez and Ms. Sanchez know that moving forward, our board has certainly had its fair share of high expectations and sort of damaged expectations along the way. And I said, so we will probably be asking lots of questions when they do financial reports and digging into spot checking procurement and spot checking how things are going on our end. And I said, please take none of it personally. I'm sure they're going to do a wonderful job for us and for our school. But we are trying to sort of recuperate from just from some damaged trust with previous business management. So that is the reality of it. I think ultimately, I kind of told them that our top three priorities, and Chair Brown, the Finance Committee, you're also welcome to correct any of this if it's incorrect. I said we have some priorities coming into this as a finance group. Number one is ensuring that vendors are caught up with being paid. We were able to take a look at the Wells Fargo account today, and I said we need to get our finger on the cash flow so that we can approve what needs to be approved and get things moving when it comes to vendors who are patiently waiting for overdue payment. We need to ensure we actually have a budget that we know and understand and that can be presented in a way that is transparent and lets us make decisions along the way. And of course, if there are things within the budget process that are, if they discover things that we need to work on and that we need to cut, that's of course exactly what we're leaning on with them, is we need to build back the strength of the school, and then we'll be moving into budgeting season pretty soon here. And so making sure that we have, I think the phrase we've used in the past is a 5-year plan. Like we have to know what's coming and what's expected. So it is a heavy lift from their team, but I have all the faith in the world they'll be able to do it and do it well. And so I appreciate them jumping on board and offering that. I'll pass it to Finance Committee Chair if you'd like to add any to that.
No, I think that's excellent. Thank you, Mr. Colander. I don't really have anything to add. So
I did flash our fancy reading material that the three of us have because I said we want to know what the auditors know. And so we're going to be booklet bros for the next couple of months as we try to read through that audit committee. There it is. That's right. Thank you, Chair Molina. But I said this is our intent to say we're going to keep a much closer eye on things, whereas I think in the past we sort of relied on a lot of trust with the business office to make decisions and be transparent with things, and we want to make sure we're in on that. The only other thing that I will say is that all the schools, I think I forwarded this to our finance committee, as we did receive a copy of the audit report that came out today. And so that is now, I believe, unless one of you corrects me, I believe that means it's now public. So we can talk about things that were discovered in there, although the report itself, I tried to look at our report and it looks like essentially a ledger, but it mentions within the report itself any kind of, like, it kind of enumerates, here's how many findings you've had, here's how many of this kind, that kind. I don't see the footnote annotated version of that report where I can know what they're pointing at for specifics. So I've only been able to rely on the specific end of audit meeting that we've had for that information. So I didn't, in other words, nothing out of what they shared today illuminated me to anything new that I should be concerned about yet, unless I just don't know how to read it. Well, there's that.
There are several. Oh, sorry.
Okay. In my humble opinion, I think we should let Whitney and Sammy have at that report and digest it so that they have a complete and full understanding of it, and then they can give us their interpretation and kind of a report out of it. It'll be sobering, unfortunately, but it'll give you certainly a starting point, and I think it'll truly help you understand where Jake is coming from with the board's, for a lack of a better or more correct term, paranoia. So I think when you see the findings and that 2 or 3 of them may be repeats, that's no bueno, and we would like to get that remedied. So I think that's a fine thing to do. Give Whitney and Sammy an opportunity to get through that, digest it, understand it. I think that'll certainly help them with their roadmap, and they can present out that report to the entire board next month from their much better trained perspective. In my humble opinion.
Excellent. It's been shared as of right now. So they have a present waiting in their inboxes for the morning.
Very good. So under section 5, which you're handling this evening, reports, committee update, and budget adjustment requests, which I can't imagine we have any because we haven't had a business manager to process any.
I think that's correct. I just like to leave it as a standing item in case something comes up, but I didn't know of any.
Yeah, I don't think we have any. We might have some next month after, again, Whitney and Sammy get their arms around this thing and see what needs to be moved around. Anything else with regards to school finance, Mr. Colander or Mr. Brown? Very well. Whitney, Sammy, you will be owning this section for the most part in the months coming forward. So, or yeah, coming forward. So, again, welcome aboard. So happy to have you here. And again, a very friendly, open board. You can ask us just about anything during a meeting or even via email. I think you should all have our board emails. Ask away. If we don't know something, we'll make up something so good you'll believe it. I'm joking. Um, but we will certainly strive to get the correct answer or our best answer to you, of course. So, well, very good. Looking at the agenda, I don't see any pressing need for Ms. Marquez or Ms. Sanchez to hang around other than your morbid curiosity. So you are welcome to stay, but you are certainly also welcome to go join your families for dinner. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank
Well,
you.
don't
Mr.
say,
You're welcome.
I will send you back into the attendees and you're welcome to listen in or go do something else. But thank you so much, ladies.
I think I might stick around as an attendee just to listen in
Okay,
the background.
sure. Absolutely. You're welcome. Well, Mr. Colander, you are section 6 as well, and you get to kick it off with something fun. So the floor is yours, sir.
Can I interject? I think you should cover the first couple things, Mr. Colander, but I'm wondering if we had adjusted the closed sessions to be later in the agenda due to Miss Matthews' availability, but she is already in the office. So I'm wondering if we could just cover maybe the first couple things and then jump to closed sessions and come back to the rest, to not keep Miss Matthews waiting, but it's just a suggestion. It's up to board's discretion.
I think that's fair and prudent. Let's do it.
Okay, so we need Mr. Branch.
Yeah, and I saw on the agenda that Melissa Hernandez was introducing this part, which she,
I don't
I
see
don't
her.
see her.
okay. I did message her earlier to make sure that she had the invitation. I haven't heard back, so she might have been caught up in prepping for our NAEP tests on Friday, which will be huge for us. So we can promote Mr. Branch, and I will give a cursory introduction. I have to say that I feel terrible that I was not able to be present for this. So I'm going to let Mr. Branch actually do most of the speaking, but the board should know that Mr. Branch was presented at the floor of the Roundhouse and was able to receive recognition for his work at Explore Academy. And we are so very proud of that and happy to have seen. He sent me a video that was low volume, so I demanded a second, which he sent that was appropriate volume, and I was able to hear the introduction there. But I think I would love to pass the time to Mr. Branch to share a little bit about what they said about the school, about him, and to share kind of what that was, what that meant for us. And so I'll pass the time to Mr. Branch.
Mr. Branch, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Colander. So I had the honor last Tuesday to be able to be announced in both the House and the Senate floors, and it was very exciting. The first time that I had been involved in anything to this magnitude, and so very proud to get to hear our school being announced to in partnership with victims of violence and their families. And so what we did is earlier in December, we allowed them to have their Christmas party slash giveaway or giving to students that are in need, to have a location to be able to have that party, and invite all those kids and present them with gifts and stuff like that. So very meaningful for us as far as that's concerned. But while in the party, I got introduced by, I don't know if you know the gentleman, but his name is Pete Campos. And Pete Campos is the longest sitting senator in New Mexico. So there was a coin that was made that he also presented to me, that I want to have something made to put it up so we can display it at the school. But again, just very honored to be able to be part of this. If you haven't had opportunity to do so, it's one of the things that I would say is one of the highlights, would be one of the highlights that you would enjoy as a person just in sitting in with the things. There's a lot of things that goes on when they're introducing people, a lot of students, pages and things like that they also introduce. And it was just a real explosive atmosphere as far as the interaction that the senators and the representatives had with not only the pages but with also the people like myself that they introduced. And so I'm very humbled to have been a part of that. The thing that I really wanted to stress is that the school trying to make sure that um, Explore Academy gets the accolades that are deserved of the school and the leadership. And I think that we're doing a lot of things, a lot of great things to move the school forward and continue to make this an inviting place for not only the community but students and just anybody who wants to be involved in with the Explore Academy. So it was my honor to be a part of this, to be just a small part of the greatness which is Explore Academy. So I just wanted to say thank you not only to Melissa but to Mr. Colander for allowing me, because it was during the school day, to allow me to be able to take that time to go up and get the accolades again that Explore Academy deserves on a daily basis. So again, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Chair Molina. My apologies for being late. My
Hello.
computer decided to update Zoom as I was trying to log in.
Very good. No worries. Glad to have you.
Yeah, Chair Molina, members of the board, I serve as your Director of Assessment and English Learner Programs, but I'm here today as a co-founder of the New Mexico Crusaders for Justice. My nephew was murdered at the age of 17 in 2021. And since then, that's how I was introduced to the New Mexico Crusaders for Justice. It was founded by two moms whose children were murdered, and after that happens, you just don't know what to do. And until you've gone through it, it's very hard to find a support system that understands what you're going through. So I've been very blessed to work at a place that is willing to honor community service and community issues. And when I shared the work that I do on my free time, which is a lot of victim advocacy work through the Crusaders for Justice, Jake and Anthony were so gracious in allowing us to co-sponsor some events with your NHS students. Your NHS students have participated and volunteered in so many of our activities that we've hosted as the New Mexico Crusaders for Justice, with the most recent one being our Christmas Carnival, where we invited children and siblings of murder victims and provided them with food and gifts, and then just a lot of different activities. So when I had shared that with Representative Nicole Chavez, who sponsored the memorial that was held at the legislature that day to honor murder victims, um, she really wanted to also highlight and express gratitude for all of the support that Explore Academy has given us. And so I was very honored to be able to have Anthony Branch join us on the House floor during the memorial resolution that was read and voted on. And then he was also recognized on the Senate floor that same day, and Explore Academy was recognized for the work and the collaboration to support victims of violence. So I just really want to thank you. It makes me feel good to be an employee of a school that wants to honor families. And I think there's so much news right now regarding juvenile crime. And to know that we have students that want to do great things for themselves and for their community is such a beautiful thing. And so I'm glad that we were able to highlight not just our NHS students who did not want to miss school, by the way, because our event was during midterms. So they they were very much so not wanting to miss school. Otherwise, we would have also had some students on the House floor recognized that day as well. But also just being able to go to Principal Branch and our head admin, Mr. Colander, just saying, these are some of the things that we're looking at doing, and for you all to open up your doors and co-sponsor events to try and give some people just a tiny bit of happiness around the holidays, which can be very tough when you lose a loved one in such a violent way. We sincerely appreciate it as the New Mexico Crusaders for Justice, and we look forward to collaborating with Explore Academy more in the future.
Outstanding. Thank you very much.
And my apologies again for being late. I shouldn't have let a Zoom update. I thought it would take like a minute, not
Right?
27 minutes.
Yeah. Not terribly fast, but we're so glad you made it. So thank you so very much.
Thank you.
I will add that I really appreciate Melissa in the role that you have within the community and reaching out and helping the school to partner with that. I think one of our goals this year, as you know, is to build that reputation within our community, to find opportunities to partner with organizations. We've tried working with the city of Albuquerque. They've been so in terms of their responsiveness to working alongside us, but it is something that I think our school is looking into, is finding ways to help support the people that are in our community in a variety of spheres, but we don't always know as school leadership what's the best place to fit in. We don't always know what questions to ask, and we don't always know what paths to follow. And so the fact that you've been so willing to reach out and partner with Anthony and partner with the school and continue to bring to attention the concerns that you, of course, advocate for, and how you can partner with Explore Academy to make that work, I think has been an amazing opportunity for our students and for our school. So thank you for your work in that and your volunteerism. And for always bedazzling whatever background you're in with Explore Academy stuff when you're on the news, because it also helps. Also helps that we sort of, you've angled yourself sometimes in interviews to be able to have Explore logos in the background, and it's always appreciated that you include us in that way. So thank you.
Well, I try, I try to carry all of the different things that I do because everything is so connected. The work that we're doing on the advocacy side, of course, affects how students perform in the classroom. And so to know that we have that collaboration, and I don't want to I won't call out any names, but we do have a lot of families at Explore Academy that attend the support group that I do, and do appreciate all of the collaborative work that we're doing because it's making their children feel heard and seen, and not in a negative way where they felt it in their other schools. So I think it's also important to highlight that it has helped some of our students really feel at home at Explore Academy because they feel seen and heard, and so do their families.
Excellent.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. And I do have a surprise coming up that I will share at the next board meeting. So Karen, I need another agenda item. And all I can really say at this point is you might want to look at Channel 4 sometime next week. When I have more of a date, I will let you know.
Okay.
All righty.
Thank
Well,
you.
with that, thank you. With that, I'll send Ms. Hernandez and Mr. Branch back to the attendees. But thank you both very much.
You guys.
Wonderful. I think we can bring Miss Hughes up so she can talk about the food service bridge, and then we can jump into Patty's topics.
Mr. Branch, thank you for being here this evening.
Yes, thank you both.
Okay, Miss Hughes. Reading my dinders here. Did I move the right people? Yes, I did. There she is.
Good evening, Chair Molina and members of the board. This one will be pretty quick. It's just an update for you on a grant that we did apply for. Mr. Colander actually was the one who clued me into the grant, but it's called the Food Service Bridge Grant. And it is a grant that is competitive, so we don't know if we will receive it yet. We just did apply for it. It was due earlier this week, and we applied for $15,000 to help provide food boxes for some of our families in need over extended school breaks. So that would be things like Thanksgiving break, Christmas break, spring break, anything like that, even into the summer if we do get it sooner rather than later. And it would be partnering with our food service department and Genuine Foods to help provide those whole food items in those food boxes. And we proposed that working with both campuses, it would be around 45 to 60 families that could benefit from something like this. So hopefully we do have the opportunity to be awarded those funds, but we just wanted, it didn't require board approval or anything, but it was a food service bridge grant to hopefully provide those food boxes. We had a couple of different options that we could do for it, such as food pantries or food boxes on weekend breaks. We already partner with Grace Church to do weekend snack packs for students in need. So we didn't need to do it necessarily over the weekends, and working with both school counselors and Liz Ragland Sherman from Food Services, we determined that the biggest need would be those extended school breaks and serving some of those purposes for that. So I'll keep you posted on that, but I just wanted to let the board know that we did apply for that grant.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Miss Lisa. Any questions or thoughts for Miss Hughes with regards to that special grant?
I will just say unequivocally and without exception, we appreciate Ms. Hughes' effort on her role as grants and transportation because it is constantly of top quality and it's all a collective effort. Like, yeah, I saw an email in my inbox, but kicking it her way means it's going to get done if it's something that we can apply for. And so I appreciate Ms. Hughes' work on those things.
Thank you, Mr. Colander.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Hopefully we are competitive in winning that. That'd be great.
Lisa,
Okay,
I'm gonna send you back to the attendees, but please watch for invite because I think you need to join our closed session in a little bit as well.
Sounds good. I will be waiting in the attendees.
Thank you.
excellent. All right. I think we're gonna pause here, Jake. And are we ready to go into closed session, Miss Karen?
I'm ready. I've notified Miss Matthews and I've sent you all an invite and I have the link in the chat. So we do need to take a vote, of course, but yeah, I think we're ready if you are.
I think so. I move to enter into closed sessions to cover sessions A and B as outlined in our agenda to discuss limited personal matters in regards to demotion, dismissal, or reassignment of roles, specifically involving a bus driver, as permitted under Section 10-15-1H2, and to discuss the purchase, acquisition, or disposal of real property by the public body, specifically the lease purchase agreement and construction projects as permitted under Section 10-15-1H8. A second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Heather. All right, Miss Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote, having us enter into closed sessions A and B as outlined in our agenda to discuss limited personal matters in regards to demotion, dismissal, or reassignment of roles, specifically involving a bus driver, as permitted under Section 10-15-1H2, and to discuss the purchase, acquisition, or disposal of real property by the public body, specifically the lease purchase agreement and construction projects as permitted under Section 10-15-1H8.
Yes, sir. Chair Patrick Molina,
Aye.
Vice Chair Heather Anderson,
Aye.
Bill Brown,
Aye.
and Dottie McKinney. Aye.
All right. Welcome back, everyone. I move to close closed sessions A and B as outlined in this evening's agenda for the purpose of discussing limited personnel matters in regards to demotion, dismissal, or reassignment of roles, specifically involving a bus driver as permitted under Section 10-15-1H2, and for discussing the purchase, acquisition, or disposal of real property by the public body, specifically the lease purchase agreement and construction projects as permitted under Section 10-15-1H8. A second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Heather. Wonderful. Miss Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote to, and I will make this shorter, adjourn from our closed sessions A and B as outlined in our agenda?
Yes, sir. Chair Patrick Molina, Vice Chair Heather Anderson,
Aye.
Bill Brown,
Aye.
and Dottie McKinney. Aye.
All right. Thank you all very much. And just to have on the record that the board did not discuss anything outside of those agenda items as listed in the agenda under closed session A and B. Very good. We do have a little bit of business to conduct here with regards to those agenda items. And the first one is going to be a motion. If I can get it really quick. Here we go. All right. I move to adopt the reimbursement resolution related to the foundation's refinancing of its current obligations for the Galton and Masthead facilities. A second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Any further discussion from our closed session, ladies and gentlemen? With discussion finished, Ms. Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote to adopt the reimbursement resolution related to the foundation's refinancing of its current obligations for the Galton and Masthead facilities?
Yes, sir. Chair Patrick Molina. Vice Chair Heather Anderson.
Aye.
Bill Brown.
Aye.
And Dottie McKinney, aye.
Thank you all very much. And our other closed session item that we need to vote upon is I move to continue the current bus route P evaluation and further, I had it all in my head a minute ago. Further evaluation of the bus route and its driver and students going forward, and to authorize Lisa Hughes to share her findings with Herrera Bus Company. A second, please.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Any further discussion with regards to that agenda item? All right, with discussions closed, Ms. Dottie, would you please conduct a roll call vote to continue to monitor Route P as it stands, and for Lisa Hughes to share her findings with the Herrera Bus Company?
Yes, sir. Chair Patrick Molina.
Aye.
Vice Chair Heather Anderson.
Aye.
Bill Brown.
Aye.
And Dottie McKinney, aye.
Very good. And that takes care of our items from our closed sessions. Mr. Colander, we're going to go back into our agenda under item number 6 and the school leader report and resume with item A3, the OKRs. The floor is yours, Mr. Colander.
Excellent. Thank you, Chair Molina. So I do know we are late into the evening, so I will keep this as efficient as I can. What I have included in there is a copy of our Q2 OKR report out. This went to all parents and staff. The beautiful thing about this is it's a great insight. It's one of the reasons I love the OKRs in terms of its transparency, because there were many things on here that we were able to complete almost to 100%, many things at 100% completion, many things almost at 100% completion. Our K-5 math, 100% across the board. And math was one of those subject areas that went up in every grade level. And so there's reflection of the fact that paying attention to some of these details are helping. It shows items on which, like the 612, I guess I could share screens. Maybe that would make it easier for me to just, as I'm zipping along. Let me see if that, okay. Are you all seeing this report now? Is that correct? Okay, perfect. So you'll see that we had 75% completion on the data gathering baseline for Q1. We are still figuring out how to pull in some of those optional exams that kids take, those things like being able to take the PSAT, or not the PSAT, the SAT, the ACT, AccuPlacer. Those are not required. So students are supposed to report their scores to us, but it's sort of over time and trying to build a centralized place. Going backwards real quick, I mentioned that we had completed 100% of all of our key results within math, and we had completed almost all of our key results within reading. The big challenge was library. The library system has proven not burdensome to set up, but it was time consuming because of the time it took to get bookcases in. Many of them were damaged, and we have an outstanding dean of students at the K-5 whose degree is in library science and has a passion for it. So she is guaranteeing we're going to squeeze every drop we can out of our Go Bond money for library funds. We have $920 left from our previous allocation. And she is, I said, I need you to spend all of it. And we have our new allocation that we need to present a plan for. All of that was on hold until we found out whether we were moving forward with the journal, because obviously the journal would have been a whole different ballgame when it comes to a library. Whereas now that we're staying, it's part of that. How do we redesign some of that space? It's part of that interior redesign we mentioned with the bond refinances. If we could redesign that flex space a bit for K-5, separate out a section. We have a new thing required by the state called Amira, which is an AI reading program for kids. But in the public spaces in which the kids typically are taking them, there's enough background noise that it's throwing off the accuracy of those reports. So built into that includes library, but she's doing a fantastic job of keeping her eye on that because it's definitely a passion of hers. On our community goals, we were, as I mentioned, we hit all 6. This was the one people thought was going to be the most challenging, with 6 positive media stories. I linked out to all of those stories, so anyone who wants to see what I'm referencing can see them. The 40th day increase hits on community event was our 0%. We don't know how to do it, and we have tapped into it. Whoever our on-site tech people are, and they cannot figure out on a Google-based system how to track hits on a calendar that you can subscribe to once and never have to do again. So that one was a 0. It was complete honesty that we just didn't do anything with it. We do have our surveys, and I was at the end of term 5, we were able to actually get survey data pushed out to teachers. They are now seeing the results of the new surveys. A couple of these things, the in-service information, the interest inventory, those were both set at 0% completion because they actually happened as part of our January in-service and work at our elementary. So I'm not counting them as having been done as part of our semester 1 work, although the work is done at this point. And similarly with our system here, our quarter 2 advertising campaign for majors, some of these things have been slow because obviously we've been derailed by a couple things. But what I like about the OKR system is that you as a board can look that in our objective 2, creating visible and accessible pathways for educational exploration, you can see the things that we were able to get done. Sort of the community bulletin board has been a challenge, but we tried to revamp what we did with the Howl. The end of quarter 2 advertising campaign for majors just didn't happen. Beth Wheelock has some old films she had done maybe a year ago with teachers that we wanted to look at to see, because if those work, then we actually do have a chunk already ready to go. 100% done on the dual credit travel opportunities and internships, because we have a number of kids participating in a lot of things within the Explore Horizons program. And the external agencies with RGEC has been a challenge because they did not want to bring external agencies to work with them, even though it was part of their sales pitch in the opening, as we work with this group and this group and that group. So we sort of said, okay, cool. When are we going to see some of those groups? And none of those groups have arrived. They did collaborate with Learner's Chess and Explora for the fall. They're no longer continuing those collaborations because logistically they were a significant challenge for Fridays. So again, the thing I love is the transparency. You can see what we nailed, you can see what we kind of got, and you can see what we didn't do well, because ultimately this also helps if the board is saying, I see something you didn't accomplish well, and we would like to prioritize that moving forward. That helps me to see what your vision is for what we're trying to do. I will jump over to, let's see, I think I need to stop share and then reshare this new one, our new OKRs. And a lot of these are simply what the next appropriate step is for the OKRs we had. As I mentioned to teachers and to community members when I sent these, our objectives don't change. That's sort of that's our stalwart, as we stand strong on our objectives are driven by our mission as a school, and we continue to try to push those objectives forward, which I sort of have distilled down into saying we want to be academically, kids are on target and college ready. We want to be have a positive reputation and widely spoken about and a top of mind choice when it comes to charter schools. And we want to ensure that our kids are developing passions and interests as part of their time at our school. So that's how our objectives are built. These take in sort of the next round. Now that we've got the screeners done, how do we build out a professional development calendar that is really data driven and is actually time bound? So we built in the spring, screeners went out in early January, which means they had to do their grade level data deep dives end of January. We just had our February 6th professional development with the K-5. That PD had to be provided based on the data that came from the screeners. We now have an observation period, sort of the feedback circle of coaching, sort of coaching staff, observing what they've done, and then feedback with them. So we keep building capacity within our teaching staff. Similarly, our 6 through 12 objectives continue to build this out. And I sort of shared this idea with Chair Molina a little bit, but I'm trying to tap into a vision I'm having of what I think would be valuable. If you saw our Vistas report, they break down our scores into what looks like a little speedometer thing that reads from 0 to 100 of how we're doing. And I said, wouldn't it be cool if part of what Explore Academy does is, as part of building our graduate profile, we build our college readiness profile, because we know that it is no longer GPA and SAT score. They're looking for well-rounded candidates that have had exposure to things like learning through travel opportunities, internship programs, volunteer through churches or Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts. And I sort of said, what if we could build this for our students where every kid at our campus as a senior knows where they stand on a college readiness, almost like a college readiness profile for each student. So if I've got a senior in the school and I'm preparing for senior year, I as a parent can sit with our college career counselor and say, how ready is my kid for the university? Because grades only tell one side of the story. And we actually start building that into what we can share with parents. So when they see, well, my kid's, he's 6 months from graduating and has never participated in any kind of a volunteer opportunity, you may not want them to participate in, but you might want to say, let's find something, because we want to build out that resume that they're going to send in, or the Common App. So that's part of what we're looking at for semester 2 for college readiness is there a way to start turning our data gathering tool systems into a unified vision of what we can create, so that what parents are seeing is their student's profile.
Excuse me, Mr. Colander, just for the record, I just wanted to note that Ms. Schubert has joined the meeting. Ms. McKinney, if you would note at 7:46. Thank you.
And I accidentally deleted a section, Karen, of
I'll get it.
Okay, I apologize. Thank you.
Excellent. And then back to our we did this really well. The 6 positive stories or highlights in local media was a real challenge. I think that was really zone of proximal development, in that our last story that hit number 6 was in December over winter break with the Crusaders for Justice event at the school campus. So I'm keeping it there, and we're already sort of chugging away at this opportunity. We went from 2 events to 4 events in the spring that have 100+ participants, still wanting to recruit local businesses to participate in school events and initiatives, and a community-based event at the school hosted by Explore Academy, but run by an outside organization similar to Crusaders for Justice event. I am really working on trying to get City of Albuquerque to partner with us for a North I-25 project community input session. I think would be a brilliant thing to do. If there are other things such as, I don't know, umpire associations, events, anything that we could tap into and say, hey, there's stuff going on at the school that's an outside organization where we get a little bit of love in that direction, I would love to include that into our milieu of things that we're doing to partner with local organizations. And then finally, just continuing that process of looking for passions and interests. That interest survey, we've hit sort of a conundrum with staff, in that our staff have not been pushing students to take those surveys, which would tell us, are you discovering passions and interests? Because they have never seen the results thereof. And the wording was something to the effect of, we don't know where this survey information is going or if anyone's even looking at it. So they lost the motivation to get kids to do it. I told them the challenge, of course, is that we didn't want to give you the information until enough kids took the survey to make the data valid. So we were in they didn't want to give the survey because they weren't seeing results. We didn't want to show them results because they weren't taking the survey. So I said, let's lean in on what we can control, which is showing them the results. And that was resolved by our director of data, Clint Cosper, was able to get up through term 5 results pushed out to all staff this week. And similarly, we have a new college career counselor that's coming to us with 30 years of experience in college and career counseling. It is a return from retirement employee who's joining us. She was a co-founder of Ask Academy and actually worked on their college career pathways. And there is a degree to which Nora Ellis and I have worked very closely on providing these visible and accessible pathways for educational exploration. And now in her absence, unfortunate absence, I look forward to having our new college and career counselor step in and saying, now let's think, you've got a 30-year career in doing this. What are other things we could be doing? Where could Explore Horizons go from here? How do we continue to dig into internship opportunities? Because there's now a whole new group of people that we're going to have connection to via her career. So all that's been shared with you all in the agenda, because I thought it was important that you as the board saw where our OKRs, not only where they landed at the end of semester one, but where we intend to go for semester two. I'll pause there if there's any OKR questions before I move to the other items on that agenda.
Well, my thought is what a wonderful addition this year on bringing in the OKRs. They are obviously being very seriously watched and executed, and that was the vision that Jake and I had when we both read the book, and it's having the results. And the other thing that's important to remember are the OKRs. As sexy as it would be to have 100% everywhere, when you don't hit the 100%, it doesn't mean you failed. It just means that what we tried didn't work. And there's no issue with that. We're not going to hit a home run every time we get up to bat. But boy, did we hit some pretty good ones on this one. So Jake, well done. Yeah, this is having the impact we envisioned. So I'm digging it. And welcome aboard, Jan. Glad to have you here.
Thank you, Chair. If there's no other questions, I will jump in. I actually sent, the board had approved, I was looking for our bully prevention policy. Both site safety plans have been submitted, and there was a board approved plan. There was a bullying restorative practices plan that you all passed, but I did not actually see in our student handbook this round. So I will connect with Ms. Werner to ensure that that shows up, because it was part of when we formed, I think 2 years ago when I was still principal, we were seeing this emergence of bullying and what we referred to as bullying and bullying-like behaviors. And we formed an anti-bullying committee with parents and staff members and counselors. I said, I need to get people in a room and let's start talking about what we're seeing. It was actually a really cool experience to work with a team like that, all focused on the single vision of how do we create. There was even a mission statement for that committee for our school that was creating a school environment that is conducive to ending patterns of bullying and bullying-like behavior. And the result of which was put together by a counselor, some students, and some parents, was a restorative justice practice for any student who was recorded in our disciplinary matrix as having committed an act of bullying. I didn't see it in the student handbook, but we'll work to get it in there because that was presented and approved. But I will say that this year we have only had 4 referrals. We have a lot of referrals. I just want to mention, people give referrals for kids for all kinds of things. So if I were to tell you we have a little over 1,000 referrals, that might sound huge. It's not giant because we have a lot of rules. We expect kids to follow them. And for the most part, they do. And so these are all the little slip ups of out of dress code and talk back to the teacher and those kinds of things. So most of those are very minor things. Of those, only 4 were relevant to bullying. All resulted in responses based on our student discipline matrix. And I do believe that if we get that restorative justice practice thing put in place, I don't know how to promise lower than 4, but I'm going to try to we're going to try to cut that in half, because I don't think we're ever going to get 100% out of there. But let's try to cut it in half by having a process that's very laid out to kids. If you're bullying somebody, it's more than just a slap on the wrist, go home for 3 days, come back and think about what you've done. There is a process that you have now entered into to restore the faith that others should have in you as a co-member of the community of our school. So I'll put that out there. I did not link. I should have thought to send a copy of this in to link to the agenda, but we can send it out later so you guys can look back at what you had approved a while ago. Because I actually think it was a great plan that we had to put in place. Go ahead.
Jake, I'm not sure that you were referencing the one approved by this board. I don't see anything about restorative practices in the current bullying and cyberbullying approved plan, but I can link it here. We could talk and get it, whatever you need in the handbook. The handbook does have bullying. The student handbook has bullying and the anti-racial requirements. We reviewed that when the requirements for the anti-racism was raised, and we had to include that in the policy. So let's connect, because I'm not sure what's missing where.
Sure, that's okay. Yep, I found on the presentation we gave that March. So maybe I'm wrong. I'll have to go back and look at the notes, because the presentation we gave that March, following the completion of the work of the committee, indicated that the board had approved that policy to be added to our handbook. So we'll look back to the notes together and and make sure we do what we need to close the loop.
Maybe I missed something that needed to be added, but I do remember that presentation and the work that the committee had done, but thank you.
Sure. The last thing that I wanted to point out, which was a request from, I guess not the last thing, but it was a request from the board to say we haven't really looked at academic numbers. We are still in the mix of trying to get information, but I did want to put together just a quick IMESA middle of year report for the team. This is the outside testing. For those of you who are familiar with the platform, this is the interim assessment. Our students take a beginning of year, middle of year, and end of year IMESA exam, and the New Mexico MASA exam is their summative assessment. So that is the exam that is utilized to help form our VISTAS report. So I wanted to let you see where our mid-year report was. I wanted to highlight where beginning of year was on reading, language, and math, which are the 3 strands that they test. On third grade, for essentially third grade through 8th grade, I only included in here the on-target numbers, so I did not include the lower bracket or the middle bracket. It was just these were the kids identified as being on target. So as an example, you can see on the chart, third grade, beginning of year to middle of year was a nice jump. Third grade math went from a 1% to 7%. So obviously this is the reason we do PD around these gaps. But I also then highlighted any of our Yazi Martinez kids, any that are covered under that disaggregated group, any of those groups that scored higher or on par with the school average. There is a pattern here. I'll be curious if you spot it. Because there is our 4th grade numbers, again, across the board, we jumped reading, language, and math. Our 5th grade numbers, we also jumped reading, language, and math, did a good jump beginning of year to middle of year. And you click out to 6th and 8th grade scores. 6th grade scores actually showed a drop in reading and language. And this report was shared with our instructional coach to say, this is a good conversation to have with our humanities team, is why did the scores go down by middle of year? The math scores jumped, and I will say that this year the school had invested in having, making sure not only did we have an academic coach, but we have this math interventionist who's joined the school last year, but they revamped what that looks like. I can't establish causality, but I could suggest correlation to the fact that we do have a math interventionist at the campus who meets with middle school students during their structured flex, and our math scores jumped. We do not have a reading interventionist, and reading scores dropped. 7th grade, it was the same thing. Math scores, I wouldn't say jumped, but sat up, and reading scores and language scores dropped a bit. And in 8th grade, reading again went down. So reading went down in every grade level at the mid school, and math went up in every level at the mid school. All right, so pop quiz. What was the pattern we saw in Ozzy Martinez kids and their performance? I open it to the board for response.
Well, if I read it right, we saw term over term or period over period, significant, not just growth, but significant improvement. And some of those reds that you showed, Jake, were only off by a percentage. Now, that's still the wrong direction, but I can't remember if it was the 7th or 8th grade, the reading score period over period was off by 1. Not acceptable, but still, I mean, but anyway, when we look at the data down below, most of it was either an improvement or they didn't lose any ground, is the pattern I saw.
Right. Sure. I will say I will frame this carefully, but to the delight of both of our principals, our Black students in every grade level outperformed our general population.
No, I didn't look at.
And I was asked the question very bluntly. They said, well, do you think it has something to do with us? And I said, of course it does. Of course it does. Anytime children see people who are like them in positions of respectful authority, that are educated and that are leaders, they aspire to be like them. I said, it does not surprise me in the least that our Black student population has shown improvement. I said, what we need to find is how we diversify the rest of our leadership. I think every kid should see themselves reflected in the leadership in our schools and in the leadership, of course, in our state. But I think kids need to see themselves in those kinds of positions so they can dream and say, yeah, that could be me. And that could be the direction that I get to go. I do think it encourages them. And so they were very pleased to see that information and were happy that I was highlighting that kind of thing so they could look. Our Native American students also generally did really well and jumped in some of the grade levels, but not all of them. I thought it was, if anyone was asking in terms of the diversity of the school, how do your Yazzie Martinez populations do compared to the general populations? They do very well. Our greatest challenge, as will be in most schools, is among students that are special education and economically disadvantaged. Those will always be the students for whom there is greater challenge, and we will do our absolute best to continue to figure out how to address them. But this data at least shares with everyone on board. Where do you see the dips? It was actually, Chair Molina, your number was correct. In 8th grade reading, they went from a 48 to a 47. And I tossed my hat on the floor and tore the logo off the polo and said, how dare we? But I think I don't remember. You know much more than I do, of course, about margin of error. It probably falls within margin of error on that.
So I was going to ask on that data that you're provided from IMESA, do we get the standard deviations for each one of those? And do we get any of that, or do we just get that raw, already digested score?
That's a great question. We actually requested Melissa Hernandez, whom all of you saw earlier this evening, as our director of assessment. I kind of sent this to her and said, this seems very cut and dry, which I think for the general consumption of the population, what they want to see ultimately is how is your school performing? How many kids are on target? Where are your subgroups? I said I would love if she could dig into much more of what the assessment reports could show. There are drill down reports, but you kind of have to know how to shimmy through that system. And she said, I'm on it. And so whatever the board would like to see, we can always say, let's make it possible. I think for teachers, what we want to drill down to are standards. Does it identify specifically if reading dropped, what in reading dropped? What standards did we see a decline, and how do we address that? But if there's other information that you guys would like to see, please let her know, because I think she's happy to dig into this kind of reporting as part of her role.
Yeah, because when you say the scores changed, they did, but did they change statistically? Was the change statistically relevant, or could it have been due to chance, right? Because I don't want us to put energy somewhere where it was the day of the week, or they had apples instead of oranges for lunch, dessert. Now, some of those changes were significant. There were 10 points, and I know that's well outside of the standard deviation. And the other reason I ask about standard deviation, if it's really wide, if that standard deviation is really wide, then that means you've got kids scoring all over the place. Where if it's very narrow, then I think that gives you a better picture of how to ask questions on what is the thing or a couple of things that cause that change. When it's this wide, it's too wide, and then you got to start drilling down a little bit. So that would be a fun conversation to have. And I'm sorry I'm geeking out on the stats with everybody, but I think that's an important element is when you look at the data or those general numbers is seeing what's behind it so that we're using our limited and scarce resources appropriately to help grow those numbers, not for the sake of the number, but for the sake of the student, right? That we're focusing on what needs to happen at the student level.
Mm-hmm.
The number is an interesting item, but to drill down to figure out where should we be putting our instructional coaches and the tutoring in so that we're hitting the right area. So that's just my thought, and I'll get off the statistic horse now. Thank you.
Excellent. I'm making a note real quick. Thank you. Okay, and then the last, any other questions about IMESA results or bullying? And then I will wrap up with staffing updates.
Not for me, sir.
Okay. Very good. So staffing updates, we have two lovely individuals, our office manager, Tina Kozlowski, and our staffing manager, Latasia Dyer, who are in CPO training as we speak. well, I guess not as we speak, this week. And they take their tests on Friday. Um, we're all cheering for them because they will, I am sure, pass. They're both brilliant. And then we will have two people with CPO certifications on staff. And at that point, it becomes the divvying up of duties so we can name our CPO that can begin that work on our side. As the board may be aware, because of the loss of business manager as quickly as we did, and the delay in getting CPO training happened, I had to have somebody sidekick with me in APTA to process to get invoices entered and things. So there was a temporary reinstatement of Ms. Lovato, who was our CPO. She is now moving in the direction of taking on some of our outreach work. Those are duties that have been placed on her, and she'll be stepping out of CPO role once we have our new one in place. We'll be making that switch. And then there was a tiny contract for someone for marketing. I'm meeting with her tomorrow because she wants to learn the story of the school. I was pleasantly surprised to find that her previous career was 8 years marketing a brand of bourbon. And so she's going to have a different target demographic, possibly. But her point is, if any of you know, her point is that as a company of that kind of spirit, it is often what you're selling is a story. You're selling a lifestyle / story to people. So she's coming at it from a background of essentially what is the story of Explorer Academy that we want to build into our marketing and language. And that is what we're working on tomorrow together. It was a very small 2,000 a month contract that will take over working on Facebook items. We'll start looking at what kind of marketing possibilities we have that are free or low cost. So her price is sort of an all-inclusive. This is what I can do for you. She did present to me tiers of possibility. If you want to do like a tier 2 version, here's what you would get. Here's what I would be doing for you on your behalf. Here's the work I could put into it. I didn't know financially until we have our new business management team present a budget to us. I don't know if that's the thing that we can afford. And she was very transparent enough to say what you really want is a tier 3 level marketing plan, which is kind of what I think we had been hoping for. But of course, like we had known in the past, when Ms. Pride presented that to the team, she said it's going to cost about 50-some thousand. She said if you want to go that route, you don't need an individual, you need a marketing team that would come, or an organization that would run that with multiple people with their specialties to do what it is you want to do. And it would be pricey, but of course the kickback from that would be well worth your time. I did not think an aggressive marketing approach is necessary with no real projected growth for next year. Slight growth, but certainly not like we were potentially anticipating. So I think what she's offering for the small amount that she gets is a good compromise. And Ms. Pride, who was our director of outreach, has graciously returned to the classroom. She is one of those teachers you all should go see sometime if you're on campus. She's amazing in the classroom. She's working right now at our elementary school for our interventionist who resigned. We said, where we're going to get our savings is we're not going to replace the interventionist. We're going to ask Ms. Pride to step in, which she has done and is doing a remarkable job. And we'll continue looking for classroom opportunities because she is a fantastic educator. Her class was always a joy to be in. But the staffing updates for us, we did our intent to return for teachers today was sent out, due next Friday. So we'll have a much better sense by our March board meeting. How many people are we hiring for? And I don't anticipate it being very many.
Excellent. Thank you. Any questions or further discussion from that report, fellow board members? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Item B is the Director of Operations report. Ms. Bayardo is not here this evening, but it's a very, very quick read if you click on that link. And to sum it up is things are well. And she says that at the beginning of virtually every section of her report. So I don't see any, you can read it. It's what we would normally expect from Alicia. Things are moving along beautifully in the federal programs, assessment and data, which we heard some of just now. Our compliance and our operations management all are headed in the right direction. So I don't think we need to belabor that. And there is no decisions to make. It was just an update from Miss Bayardo. So well done. Give it a quick read because it is a quick read. And if you need hand with any of the acronyms in there, please refer your questions to Mr. Colander. All right. And then section C, general updates and reminders. Miss Warner, you have the floor.
Yeah, and it's a long list, but it's going to be pretty quick. So bear with me. The monthly updates is the normal monthly updates from the group team of directors. That was for the month of February. Again, same as the director of operations report. Please, any board member, email me if you ever review that and have some questions, want somebody to come explain more. That's why we provide them to you every month. We don't want to come bore you with updates, but if you want to dig in a little further, let us know and we'll bring whoever is the expert, okay? Status of the Safe Schools Plan, I listed that because Chair Molina had specifically asked about that. Want to update you all that the Safe Schools Plan was due December 1st. They're due every 3 years. We did submit a plan by December 1st. They have a contract reviewers who review it and then get back to you about all the little minutia that needs to be revised. We have that information. We're going to be revising it and resubmitting it, but we have until June to get it all a final approval. So know that we are working on it. I also need to set up some meetings with a small safety committee to review that once we're ready for the final version before we resubmit. If any board members are interested, obviously we can't have a quorum, but if a board member or two are interested in attending safety committee, I think Dottie may have done that in the past. I can't remember, but if somebody would like to join that safety committee review of the plan, happy to have you. We will never be sharing the safety plan in public meeting. We did share assurances that you needed to agree to, but we will not. The Safe Schools Plan does not get shared publicly for safety reasons. There's a lot of things in there about how the school responds and maps and whatnot. So it's not something we even have to upload it through a secure FTP to make sure that we don't email it or send it or anything. So just wanted to give that update. Do you have any questions about the Safe Schools Plan, or happy to let you see it? I just can't share it publicly.
Sure. The reason I asked for it is when I did some of my Canvas training, one of our board responsibilities is to make sure that it's done and done correctly. And I thought, you know what? It's been a little while since I've seen anything about that. So that's why I brought it up, gang. So if we do, would that be a closed session item? Does that fall under closed session because of its safety?
It's not a closed
Okay.
session exemption. So I don't think there's an opportunity to discuss the Safe Schools Plan as a board other than those pieces that you have to sign as assurances, which I did share in November, I think.
Okay.
But I'm happy to share it with and or invite one or more, but it is not something we can discuss in a public meeting.
Yep.
And I don't know of an exemption that would cover it.
Okay, that's totally cool. Totally cool. Okay,
but not try to hide it. Happy to share it. The staff all have access to it too. They just can't be shared publicly. So,
yep, makes sense to me. No issue there.
And so then moving on, number 3, the ITB is published. If you know anybody wants a school vehicle, please, not a school vehicle, but a formerly school-owned vehicle, an SUV, very nice SUV with only 1,800 miles. Get the word out. I think we need to push that on our social media too, Jake, because we want to get some bids in. We'll be bringing it to the board for a final. Hopefully, this I forget the exact dates, but the approval will be in an April meeting. The SY25 annual report from CSD is due to us any day now, Jake. I don't think we've actually received it yet, but I listed it in case we did. I don't think we did. It's supposed to be on the board, the Public Education Commission meeting for next week, February 20th. So that means we should have it by Friday, if not sooner. I'm surprised we haven't gotten the final version yet, but Mr. Colander did request it. And to my knowledge, we have not yet received it. And again, I listed it there in case we did have it. I could share it with you, but we'll share it out when we get it. And I suspect it will be reviewed and accepted by the Public Education Commission next Friday, the 20th.
We'll share, if that's okay, on Friday the 6th. The response from PED was that Lucy Valenzuela, who did our visit, is meeting with Bridget and their data analyst to finalize. I forget, Karen, do we have, at this point, should we have already provided answers to any questions they have, or do we have an opportunity or window to reply to what their final report shows?
And now I've forgotten what the things were, but if you remember when we got the preliminary report, there was something we wanted changed. And then it was going to be on the board agenda, but I wrote and said, well, wait a minute, did this change? Bridget said yes, but I've never seen it with the change on it. So I have to go back and look at exactly what that was. But we've already had our opportunity to provide feedback and ask for a change. I do have emails that say Bridget approved that change, but I'm sorry that I don't remember what the details were. But I need to. That's why I'm anxious to see it before the PEC meeting
Right.
to make sure that that has happened.
Okay.
I'll look it up and refresh my memory and let you know what that thing was. Um, but there was something that we were pushing back on in terms of the rating. And oh, I know what it was. It was that we weren't publishing our minutes, I mean our agendas 72 hours in advance of the meeting.
Mm.
And I actually provide evidence of the history on all as examples. Like they said specifically certain months, and I provided the history. You know how if you're familiar with Google, you can do a version history and see the history, and you could see where I had made the changes. And so, and as you know, the same link is on the website all the time. So when I make changes, it's on the website. So um, I don't know what happened there, if they looked at the wrong school or I don't know what happened, but she said the staff members were no longer with CSD that had done that eval, so she gave us the benefit of the doubt, although I provided evidence. But okay. So um so that was it. I remember now. It was a governance ding for not having agendas posted. And I don't mind taking a governance ding, but I'm not taking that one. So um anyway, so moving on, again, if we get it this week, I'll go ahead and send it out to you. I don't expect there to be an opportunity to speak at the meeting, even if it is on the agenda. It's usually, this is the one where the CSD presents it and the PEC accepts it, and they don't give the school a chance to even talk. But I like to be there in case some commission member has a question, but I don't expect that we'll have an opportunity. Number 5, oh, speaking of the meeting, we also got notice today that because the audit reports were released, they are going to give a summary of audit findings at that meeting on February 20th. So I'm sure there's going to be some information about the number of audit findings at all the schools, but ours included. So I am planning to listen in on the 20th. Excuse me,
Salute.
to see how that goes. But usually what they do is, because the PED is all of the state charter schools are a component unit of the public education department's audit. So they will summarize all the findings from the school. They typically do that every year. So we'll see how that goes next week. But if they have concerns, they'll be inviting us to a future meeting. I don't expect them to ask any schools to respond next week, but they will be probably invited to a meeting in the future. I did want to share SY26 site visit. I just want to give kudos to Jake and his team. They had a phenomenal visit. It was, I understand that everything was, they were very impressed as always with the model and with what they saw. I had some good feedback for Jake that was very positive. Of course, we've got a preliminary report, but it's basically mostly, we got to still check at the end of the year. There's not any real ratings on it yet, but the compliments at the exit interview and during the day were were great to hear, and great to hear about the school. And I also understand from governing board members that it was, at least that those who know about last year's, that it was a much more pleasant experience with the interview team, and happy to hear that, because we had some bad experiences in the past with the former director. So kudos to the school on their site visit and showcasing their work.
Thank you.
Number 6, I don't recall if I shared with you this ethical misconduct requirements and a survey we had to complete. And I think it's really important when you get a chance to review some of that. It's not a decision to make, but I think it's important for you all to know the steps we need to take and the things that we do around staffing and prior employer written statements and all these. In addition to the FBI background check, there's a lot more that goes on behind the scenes in terms of asking both the candidate some ethical misconduct questions, as well as getting information from them as to all the schools they worked at and contacting all schools, asking for any feedback on any misconduct. And due to the relatively recent, I think it was 2021, 22, legislation, um, schools are allowed to share in ways that we were more careful of in the past. We are required to share about any ethical misconduct reports, and we are required to cooperate with future schools if they ask for that, and so vice versa. So what that did for us in the survey that we completed over the winter break was that there'll be a discount on the premiums for the insurance because we met all the requirements. So um, it's the kind of the work I do in the background with the staffing and whatnot, but sort of wanted you to know, in case you're ever asked, that we are following all those requirements and as a result are expecting some sort of premium discount for next year. It does involve the one thing on there that we have not yet done, although Jake does have a anonymous of reporting system of sorts called see something, say something, or something like that. But we want to, NIMSI offers a free, what's called Stop It, anonymous reporting system that they are wanting us to use. And so we agreed to do that. I've already reached out to Mr. Perez, the security person, to get that implemented at the school this spring. And also on there is a NIMSIA. I think another thing that's important for you to know related to sexual misconduct is NIMSIA now has a deductible, or I guess I don't know exactly what it's called, but I think a deductible of sorts in terms of any sexual misconduct cases. So if that was effective this year. I think it was Miss Matthews who gave me this letter. I had not seen it, but it does say that that on these types of claims, NIMSIA will pay the first 25,000 of any associated costs. However, if they exceed 25,000, the member will be responsible for all expenses above 25,000. So I think that's important to note in terms of if we should receive any sexual abuse and misconduct claims of teachers on our school. So important for the board to know that. And then finally, special meeting notification and video postings. You all had a comment last month about, particularly around special meetings not being very visible. I don't know if you noticed, but I did on the website, did kind of in a different color, put that there was a special meeting coming up. Also asked both Miss Vargas, who I think is now Miss Johnson, and Mr. Branch, or well, it's not Mr. Branch who does it. I guess it's Miss Lemons, but in their newsletters to post when our next meeting is. And so, or your next meeting is. And so post a list of when the next meeting is. And if we have a special meeting, I will notify them to include that and update it every month as they go. So trying to respond to the comment that you received last month and trying to address making sure we get the word out. And the postings are now up to date up to this meeting. And the governing board training is just my nagging monthly that we're getting near the end of the year, and make sure you do your training. Thank you.
Thanks. And when you, fellow board members, when you go look at the NMPED tracker, there's two trackers at the bottom of our agenda. The one that really matters is the one that PED has. Make sure that you have a 1 in all of your columns if you are a returning board member. Jan, I know you've got the new member training to go through. That's different. But for the rest of us, at least a 1 in each column. Even though your total hours may exceed the 5 that are required, we have to have a 1 in each column. And that's what I had to do this. I got mine done this month. And actually, if you listen to Ted on his Canvas little classes at like 1.5 speed, it goes relatively fast. And so much of it is common sense. So it's not too bad. But that's where I got the idea with regards to the safety plan, was by attending one of those online classes. So it was worth the time and effort. And it doesn't eat up too much time. So if you still owe an hour or two, jump on the Canvas and square it away. So thanks. All right. Hopefully everybody can still hear me. Yes. Okay. Going down to item number 7 on our agenda, we actually took care of everything up to item D under section 7, which are board committee reports. Our audit committee Um, we did meet for the final meeting. I didn't know what to ask. None of us did, other than we have findings this year. I can't remember if two or three of them are repeats, which is absolutely not satisfactory, which got Jake and I talking to our auditor's CLA about this little book, which is awesome. And you can't find it. I cannot find this book for purchase anywhere online. So this is a unicorn I'm holding, apparently. Um, and I'll share it with anybody who wants to see it. Um, but now that the findings are out, as you heard earlier, we're going to allow our new business managers an opportunity to go through those and sum them up for us and hopefully bring us a plan of attack to not repeat any of those again. So that's a quick audit committee update. Finance committee, Mr. Brown as our chair. Any further updates that weren't covered earlier?
No, I think we covered them already. So
I would agree. And that's a great little committee. We are we're still new, but I'm sorry we hadn't had this earlier because it's really an awesome opportunity for us to go a little bit more deeper dive and have some robust conversations that I think that with our new business managers are really going to set us up for success over the next couple of years. So very, very excited about that. And our facilities committee, any updates there?
Well, Heather, I hope you don't mind. We have not had a discussion since the Journal Center went away, and I don't know we're available to meet on anything related to facilities. Should you want to do that, Jake? So, Mr. Colander.
I think it would be worth our time now so that we can take a look at what, I mean, there were in, what is it, March, April, we're 2 months away from us looking at closing on a bond refinance that does look at facilities improvement plans as part of it. I think that our director of facilities, Rafael Lovato, would be great for the two of you to meet, but also to sort of give him some directive. This is what you need to be digging into. This is the information that we want to see, because I think that, he's a very boots on the ground, sleeves rolled up, getting work done kind of guy. And I think some of the things relevant to facilities that are under his purview are things that he may not be as familiar with. And I think he would love to learn a little bit more about it and be given a little bit of direction as to how he can keep his nose to what he needs to as a facilities director. So I'll reach out to three of. I will reach out to you, to both of you, and then to Raphael as well to see if we can set up a meeting.
Very good.
Absolutely. Especially with that financing coming in, we should probably rank and rate our projects and then allocate funds, if you will, to each one of those so that as the bids come in, and I think it might be really wise for Heather and Dottie to actually look at the bids as well, especially Dottie with 35 plus years in that realm. I think she might be able to sniff out some really interesting things that Raphael might not. So that would be a wonderful use of that wonderful resource in Dottie. So just a humble thought, not a dictum, not a request, or even just an idea out there. But I think we could certainly take advantage of Dottie's expertise. And then Heather with her legal eye would be nice to have looking at all of that as well. So I think we've got an excellent balance on our committee there, on our facilities committee. So wonderful. Thank you, Dottie.
Thank you.
All right, that brings us to section number 8, which are board comments, an opportunity for any of us to chime in. So I open it to the floor. None? Very good. Well, I'm so pleased that on our OKRs that we hit those community elements that Jake was a little concerned about us hitting such a robust number. And the fact that we were recognized up in Santa Fe on this short session is a testament to all of what's happening at the school level and Jake's dedication on really getting that community exposure expanded and including Mr. Branch and Melissa and all of that. So well done. So thank you. And again, as I try to remember to thank each and every one of my fellow board members for your service on this board. Thank you so very much. For those of you who missed the dinner that we had with the PEC this month, it was enlightening and more to come on that. Something called indicators of success are coming our way. We're supposed to get them sometime in July, and I'm going to try to propose some sort of board retreat after that, but more to come on that. So those are my comments as a board member. One last call before we move on to the next agenda item. Very good. Then we don't have, interestingly enough, on our agenda public comment, but we don't even have any attendees in our gallery to provide public comment, so I think we're okay there. I hereby adjourn this meeting at 8:30 on the dot. Our next regularly scheduled meeting is Tuesday, March 10th, 2026 at 5:30 via this format. Thank you all so very much for a great evening. I think we got a lot accomplished and got caught up. Thank you so very much.